It's a system that I use to help you understand how you're designed to live in your most aligned and natural way. When we live from this place of alignment and being authentic, being our true self, that's actually how we thrive rather than doing things the way that the world has told us to.
Hey friends, before we get into this episode, I am going to ask for your help. We are on a mission to hit 4,000 subscribers in the next 30 days. I've got a stat here. 97% of you aren't actually subscribed. That's crazy. So for every follow, like, share, subscribe, that all really helps us to continue to get the guests that you want. So can you please join me in becoming one of the 4K crew? That would help me and I would love it so much. Aviva, thank you for being here today. This is so exciting.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I had a session with you.
Almost a year ago, or at least a year ago.
Please don't say it's more than a year ago.
It might
But anyway,
be.
we've finally got you in the seat here and we're going to talk about human design today. For someone that doesn't know what that is, what's the elevator pitch?
Every time I say it, it comes out my mouth differently, but the really simple way to explain it is that it's a system that I use to help you understand how you're designed to live in your most aligned and natural way, and that when we live from this place of alignment and being authentic, being our true self, that's actually how we thrive rather than doing things the way that the world has told us to.
And we're all different.
Yes.
Once you have that understanding, not only do you have grace, because you can give yourself grace, you're like, well, this is I am this way, but you can play to your strengths almost.
And you can give other people grace as well, because you can appreciate that we're all different. And so if you're unique, then everyone else is unique, and that we don't need to try and be like each other or think that, one person's way is better than our way or vice versa. We can just appreciate who we are.
How did you first discover human design?
I was going through my own journey at the time, my own transition, which is actually what I love to help my clients navigate transitions. I was a fashion designer living and working in New York at the time. I came back to Melbourne to just visit, and then COVID hit and I ended up staying back in Melbourne, and I was realizing how unfulfilled and sort of unexcited I was feeling about fashion and not wanting to even go back to New York and do that. And I was just questioning everything that I always thought I wanted to be and do. I decided I'd stay in Melbourne. I was sort of processing what do I want to do next. While I was reflecting and kind of having that pause that a lot of people had during the pandemic, I was really asking myself, what are my natural gifts? What is something that feels easy to me? Because even though I do love fashion, it just never felt effortless. And I'm not saying that what we do should be with no effort.
I have this conversation, especially with a lot of people in business, but also my children.
Yeah.
The things that you find easy, you're normally good at.
Yeah.
Right? And someone else doesn't find that easy because they're not good at it. So, I mean, that might not be true to everything, but I do feel like when we're trying to find our purpose, if we can lean into what we find fun, what we find easy, it kind of helps to guide us a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I was trying to work out, what that thing was for me. And I think that's what we forget, that when something feels easy to us, that we think it's not a gift, because we actually can almost have a blind spot for that thing because we just assume everyone else can do it. But it's not the case, as you said.
Yeah.
So I asked myself what that was, and I had this huge light bulb moment of, okay, my natural gifts are guiding people. People have always just come to me for advice and guidance, friends, just people I just met that are oh, I've never told anyone that. So I knew that was a gift, and also just that connection I naturally build with people where they feel really comfortable and I break down their walls, even the people who usually don't let people in. So I was okay, those are my natural gifts. Fashion's not that thing for me. So what is it? And so I knew from that moment I just wanted to feel into that and let something come into my world that would make sense, to pair that gift with. I didn't want to do psychology, but I knew it would be something in that realm of self-development. And that's when a friend mentioned human design to me and showed me this podcast. And I was oh, I've heard this before, but I didn't look at it properly last time. And this time when I looked at my own chart, it actually just made so much sense to me. So I think it was just a timing thing that I was ready to receive that. And just learning about how my energy works, how I'm designed to attract opportunities and make decisions from my intuition, all these things just really landed with me. And I kind of felt like a stranger was explaining the inner workings of me to myself that I'd never shared with anyone. And it just helped me navigate all these transitions I was going through, which was deciding, do I want to go back to New York, starting a new relationship, and, what is my career path? And so human design actually became my career path because it hit me so deeply at my core that I knew I wanted to help other people connect within through that modality and help them navigate transitions like the way it's helped me.
So you just mentioned chart. For that,
Yes.
these people that are listening that are like, what does she mean by a chart?
Yeah.
Talk us through how you come up with what someone's chart looks like.
What you need for your chart is your date of birth, your exact time of birth, or as exact as possible, and your place of birth. And I put that into a system and it comes up with your chart. So kind of like in astrology where you put in that information and you see your natal astrology chart. So with human design, you see your human design chart. It kind of looks like gibberish when you look at it for the first time. And I think that's why I rejected it when I first saw it, because it looks confusing. But I guess that's what I love to do, to help people understand, really unpack their chart and what it's actually showing you. So it shows you how to use your energy correctly, how to balance doing and resting for yourself, how to attract opportunities, how to use your intuition for making decisions, and goes deep into your gifts, your life purpose, all of these innate qualities that you have.
It's so interesting. I was at the Kylo Summit a few weeks ago and someone got up and started talking about human design, and then all of us are sitting there and a lot of us were practitioners and we're all fighting over the fact that everyone wanted to be, is it a generator or
You're a generator.
I'm
actually.
a generator. Yeah. What's the other one?
There's manifesting generator.
Or a manifester, that's it. And everyone was, I want to be a manifester. I want to be a generator. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's also kind of the opposite of what human design is all about, because often people will say, I'm a projector, which is my type, which I can share about. But often people who are projectors are like, I wish I was a generator or a manifesting generator because of the way the energy levels work for those types. It's completely the wrong kind of way to look at it, because it's about, on a spiritual level, I guess, knowing that your soul chose to have these particular gifts and that you have the gifts that you need to thrive and, find fulfillment and create success in your dream life. I don't need your gifts and you don't need my gifts. We might have some overlapping ones, but I could look at you as a generator and say, I wish I had more energy like Nat as a generator. But no, I'm actually supposed to have inconsistent energy because I have my own way of creating my life, my fulfillment.
How many different types are there? We've mentioned 3.
We've kind of said 4: generator, manifesting generator, manifester, projector, and then there's reflector as well. Okay. So there are 5 types, and that's the kind of the broadest part of human design, but it's actually the most important part to understand. It's one of the key foundational parts of human design.
And what are the key characteristics for each one?
So I'll start with manifestor that you brought up. So manifestors are what I call either the trailblazers or the fire starters. They're here to spark ideas and creations and get things started for other people to join in. It's described as like they flick the dominoes, like they're the ones that create that chain reaction in people. And the way it comes up for them is they have these spontaneous, what in human design language is called spontaneous urges, to just take action on things. And they can be big or small things, but it's really their creative expression, their divine expression trying to come out through them. And so it's important they listen to these urges and not get in their heads about, but that doesn't make sense, or why am I wanting to do that? So it's really about going for it and knowing that people will join them on their mission when they have that, like, embrace their big, bold energy and take charge like that. So very like strong leadership energy. All the types can be leaders, but I would say if you think of which type is the most obvious leader, I'd say manifestor. Right. We have generators, which is what you are. And generators are what I call the powerhouses. So generators like you are designed to really have this abundance of energy when you're doing what you love. So you're here to let your desires always be your internal compass, and they lead you in the right direction and help you be more magnetic to more of the opportunities you want, just by saying yes to the things that light you up and saying no to the things that don't light you up.
So true, though. I think about the things that I don't have to do tonight. There's things on my list, that I don't want to do. And I have no energy for it. Like, it literally is such a drainer. But if you give me all the things that I want to do, I could keep going and going and going and not even need to go to bed. It's actually really resonating right now because I do have a list of things that I don't want to do.
Yeah. And that's when it's amazing if you can get, outsource certain things, like get that support. But when you can't, like asking yourself, does it have to be right now? Like, can that wait till tomorrow? Because sometimes generators will just prioritize their to-do list instead of what actually lights me up. And that could be like sitting down with your family to have dinner, and you're going to feel so much better the next day and more energized to actually get all those other things done if you do that thing that lights you up and just hold off on the things that, you know, maybe they feel important, but they're not urgent. Yeah. And that's actually how you share your energy with other people. Like you can uplift people just with your magnetic kind of bubbly energy, but also physical energy, like give up that to other people and energize them, people like me who are projectors. Then the other type is manifesting generators, and they're a hybrid of manifestors and generators. So I call them the multi-passionate ones because they're really here to have these spontaneous urges like the manifestors, but also have these desires that are leading them in a particular direction like the generators. And what happens is it can lead them all over the place in many directions. That's why they can actually feel all over the place, but it's about reframing that as a healthy, natural thing for them. When they go in all these directions, that's how they master many different things. So they're meant to be intrigued by lots of things, start things, quit things, seem fickle or seem like even non-committal. They might think they're non-committal, but it's actually because they're meant to just stop doing something when it doesn't light them up anymore, so they can follow the next thing. That's manifesting generators. Then projectors are like what I am, which they're the guides. There's something that all projectors see with clarity and ease, like really naturally, that other people can't see on their own. And that's the thing that they're here to guide other people in. So it could be seeing into a new way of a new system or designing a new way of doing something, a new process. Often it involves refining things, improving, tweaking, or it can really be seeing into people. And generally projectors do see into people really clearly. That might not be the thing that all projectors want to do. It could be more like seeing into a whole community or a whole team or a whole business and how, you know, how that can be refined in some way. And projectors have that inconsistent energy, unlike the generators and the manifesting generators. Manifestors, they get a burst of energy when they're following an urge, but then they need a rest.
Right.
Whereas Mani-gens and generators, they have that consistent energy as long as they're lit up.
Yeah.
Then projectors, it's like I can wake up from a really great night's sleep and have low energy, or I could wake up from not the best sleep and maybe have more energy than I expected. So it really ebbs and flows, and that's because projectors are here to be valued for what they can see rather than what they can do. And then reflectors, they're the rarest, so they are only 1% of people. So if you find a reflector, it's really intriguing to observe them. I like to think of them as the rare unicorns, but what I call them are the mirrors in society. They're here to really feel, they have all of their energy centers in their chart. So we all have 9 energy centers, and we have a mix of defined and undefined centers, which look like colored in or white centers. And basically we all have a mix pretty much, except reflectors have all of theirs white, which means that this is where they take in from their environment and the people around them. And that's what makes them really unique and makes them the reflectors, because they can feel into the people around them, the environments around them. They can feel whether it's healthy, whether it's aligned or out of alignment. Is it authentic or inauthentic, the emotional health of the people in that environment, and can reflect back to those people how they're doing. Are they aligned? Are they healthy or not? So they're really like the evaluators. They can really help. They're meant to be at the center of the community, showing groups of people where they can do better, where have they fallen out of their authenticity, things like that.
Can you be a mixture, or you're always one?
No, you're always one. Sometimes people resonate with other ones.
Sure.
My husband's a projector, and he's read about manifesting generators, and he's like, I resonate with that. The only one that I guess is really a true mix is manifesting generators, because they are that hybrid.
It does set it apart from, I guess, even like astrology, where you can be on the cusp of something else. That's not true for human design.
No, it's different. And I guess like astrology is just a very different system. Like they're just human design and astrology are different ways of looking at people. But I wouldn't say there's a cusp aspect.
How are they different, I guess is the question.
Yeah, well, with the foundations of human design, it is a mix of Western astrology, the Chinese I Ching, the Hindu chakra system, and then the Kabbalah tree of life. So it's a mix of all these things, but it's also unlike them. So the overlap with astrology specifically is the planets. I guess when you look at a particular style of the human design chart that most people, like a practitioner, would look at, but just someone looking it up wouldn't see.
Right.
But it's also completely different. I would say in terms of the information, you're just seeing different facets of a person, like different lenses, I guess, through the different systems. I have had astrology readings that are very practical, but I would say that human design is inherently a very practical system. That's what I feel the difference is. It's really like these are particular steps you can take in your day-to-day life for how to make decisions that are from your intuition, or these are the steps you can take to attract opportunities. So I think astrology just looks at the person from a different way, a different lens.
Do you feel like it helps people once you see this part or understand, it helps them to be more like themselves or more, I guess it's more alignment, isn't it, at the end of the day? But is that what you see with the people that you're working with?
Yeah, I think it really just gives people permission to be themselves. Like a lot of the time when I do a reading, people kind of experience what I experienced when I first read about my chart, which is like just a sigh of relief. Say a generator, like, oh, I always wanted to just do the things I want to do. And I thought that that's how my energy works. They have this huge epiphany of that's how I always wanted to live my life, but I thought maybe it was wrong and I didn't know if that was the right way, or people told me to do things differently, like their parents said to do things differently, or, you know, there's so much conditioning that we receive, parents, teachers, society. And yeah, so it really helps people kind of just have that permission to be themselves.
The flow-on effect is being able to align and make better decisions around relationships, jobs. You didn't necessarily make your job or career path choice based on knowing this until later though. How can people use that to be more purposeful with their careers or with their relationships?
I think it just really helps to understand what your gifts are. Like it really tells you your purpose, what you're here to do. So anytime you're questioning whether that sort of yearning you have inside you, that feeling of that intuitive feeling of what's right, like what you want to be doing, anytime you might kind of normally shut it down, I think that understanding your human design gives you that validation that, you know, that don't shut that feeling down. Like for me, knowing that as a projector, I am here to be a guide, and that there's a reason why my energy levels are maybe lower than the average person, and that I have a particular purpose. Like when challenges came up in creating a business or even quitting my job in fashion in the first place, like that's the scariest thing ever for a lot of people. And I know so many people navigate that transition. And so for me, it just helped me see like what signs to look out for that were telling me you're on the right path, like keep going, or how to make decisions as specific opportunities popped up, things like that.
And what are the other, I'm assuming there's more layers to it, yeah? So we've talked about, so we've talked about those overarching kind of like 5 types.
Yeah.
And then what sits underneath that?
Within each energy type, every type has a strategy, which is very practical. So your strategy is telling you how you're specifically designed to attract opportunities and create opportunities. So basically
everyone has the opportunity to create opportunities.
Yes.
Or the ability, I should say. Everybody has the ability to create opportunities, but how we create them is different.
There are specific kind of steps you can take for your type that sort of streamline your process and make you the most magnetic to those opportunities.
So what does that look like for you?
Traditionally, it's called waiting for the invitation. I like to call it being invited, because I think waiting, people
just sit around
research and they're like, oh, I'm meant to just wait. Like that feels really disempowering to people, because they're like, well, if I'm just sitting here waiting, like what's going to happen? I want to do things. So it's about knowing how to create invitations. So firstly, because projectors have an aura that reaches into people and sees them clearly. Projectors often think that they know the right way to do things, the better way, the new and improved way of doing things. And so we often want to tell people what to do. That's why the invitations are really important, because we need to receive an invitation to share our wisdom.
Right.
It's not to share just a general opinion about something, or to even, like I reached out to you to offer you a reading. Like I don't need an invitation for that. But it's when you're giving someone advice, like if I'm giving you advice on your life, I need an invitation. And that means I need to be recognized by you, and I need to know that you have a landing space for what I'm telling you. And I create invitations by actually recognizing myself, my gifts, what I'm fascinated by, and showing you that I have something to offer.
And what about for a generator?
So for a generator, it's all about your strategy is responding.
Right.
And so responding is about knowing the universe is always bringing you a stream of opportunities to tune in to that gut feeling and tune in, is it a yes or is it a no? Do I feel lit up, or do I feel burnt out just by thinking about doing that thing, and really setting those boundaries? So that's why for generators, boundaries are really important. Obviously for everyone, boundaries are important, but for generators, like extra important. And you actually create opportunities by saying yes to things that light you up and saying no to things that don't light you up, and knowing that that makes you more magnetic to more of the opportunities you want. And even when you do have to do some of those things on your list that you don't feel like doing, just bringing the awareness that you aren't doing it on autopilot, you're doing it with this conscious awareness that, okay, no one else can do this. It's really urgent, XYZ, and I'm still doing it. That still makes you magnetic because you're not just, as I said, being on autopilot or just future tripping and doing things that are unintentional.
I do one thing a day that I don't want to do. That's how I get through things.
That's a good limit. Yeah.
I'm like, one thing a day.
Yeah.
Every day, what's the thing I don't want to do that I have to do today? And that's the way I think about it, because otherwise I wouldn't do it. I just actually wouldn't do it.
Yeah, like if you had that many.
Because it's like there's so many, it's so asphyxiating to me.
Yeah.
So I always go, when I turn 40, I literally just turn a blind eye to things that I don't want to do, and that's not healthy either. So my commitment was every day you have to do one thing that you don't want to do.
And do you find that works for you? Like
it's not as overwhelming.
You have less resistance.
Yes. I mean, it's better than just ignoring it completely, because I don't recommend that. That's how I get through that, because it truly does feel like I'm wading through mud sometimes when you do those things that don't light you up. It's like night and day.
I love that you have like a strategy within your strategy.
Well, like I said, I just one day when I think I was when I turned 41 maybe, and I was like, right, you have to do from now on one thing a day you don't want to do. And the first day on my actual birthday, I had to go. I never forget. I was putting it off, but I had to go. It was just a simple task, but I had to go into the bank and print off like 10 years of statements.
So boring.
I was like, no. And this is what I'm starting
I always avoid the bank.
The 10 years of statements that have to be printed off. Yeah. But once you have this understanding, even with children, I think it could be quite fascinating.
To me, that's one of the best uses of human design for children, because if you think about it, so essentially the goal of human design is deconditioning, which is about releasing all that conditioning, all those limiting beliefs that other people put onto us since we were children, like our parents, our teachers, society, the media, social media, and it takes us away from who we are. And then that actually takes us away from thriving in a way that really lets us live our purpose. And so really when we can let children just be themselves, that's the best way to let them be themselves and actually understand them through the human design lens. We can know how to let them be more themselves instead of making them think, oh, that's really weird. Don't do that. Don't behave that way. Or there's something wrong with you. Or reflectors and manifestors who are less common, they might feel really different to a lot of other people, and their parents might reinforce that. So yeah, I think it's the most amazing thing. I've done a lot of readings for parents for their children, and it's amazing from such a young age how you can already see them just being themselves. And it's really beautiful, like just seeing children. It's so refreshing how children just are so themselves, whereas adults sometimes they do always resonate with the reading, but I do think they can have this self-perception that's actually not, it's who other people have told them they are as opposed to who they really are.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fascinated. Someone that had that kind of nurturing their whole life, how that would play out would be very different from someone who's had a lot of reinforcement to be a certain way.
Yeah.
So much of who we are is because we've been conditioned to be that way.
Yeah, definitely. And like in society, because generators and mani-gens are the most common, and we are so taught in society to act like generators and mani-gens. It's just, well, especially generators, like just have a lot of energy and just keep doing, like stick to what you're focused on, like don't change directions. And so it's really about reframing all of that or just creating a new narrative.
How can human design help to then support someone if they've had burnout, or to help re-regulate their system?
Yeah, so I mean, human design is amazing to, in the first place, avoid burnout. If you're already burnt out
to this and they're like, I'm already burnt out, give me the clues.
Yeah, I would definitely say like learn about your energy type, whether that's through a reading. You need to find the right sources so that you read empowering and clear practical information. But yeah, learning about your energy type can really help you, because based on your type, it tells you how you can actually honor your natural energy, whether that's ebbs and flows or consistent energy. Like as a generator, you would know if you don't honor your boundaries and you do too many things you don't feel like doing, and that's your whole day, then you're going to be burnt out eventually. So just knowing that as a generator can help you start to retrain the way that you go about your day. Same for all the energy types.
Right.
You know, if you're feeling like a heightened nervous system or something like that, like that's connected to your burnout, then just even through human design, you can understand your emotions, how your emotions work, like if you're an actual emotional empath or if you're someone who has more ups and downs in your moods, and if that's actually how you're just meant to be, and how to actually go with that and see it as an empowering thing instead of this disempowering thing of like, my emotions are out of my control.
Truly gives you the grace to be who you are once you know these things, and living more towards that makes life just easier in general. Where have you seen, or can you share any like examples where you've seen people almost have a transformation by being able to take their human design on board as they're living their life?
Going back to children, something that really like touched my heart was when I gave a reading to a mum. This isn't specifically about burnout necessarily, but it was a mum who came to me, and her son was about 11, and he had he was having some troubles at school. He was sort of behaving like he had ADHD at school, but then when there was an OT that observed him at school and told the parents he has ADHD, she was like, that just doesn't feel right to me because he doesn't behave that way at home, like you're talking about a different child. And then when the OT saw him at home, she actually said, oh, like, you're right, I don't see any of that behavior at home. And so when I did a reading for her son, I taught her that he's a projector, and also that he had a lot of, like what I was saying about reflectors with the open energy centers, he had a lot of those. And that means that he's someone who would take in so much energy from his environment, be really overstimulated potentially, especially as a child, like maybe not knowing how to regulate their own nervous system or have tools to do that. And just like when she messaged me after the reading, just sharing how it had transformed their family's life. Like, just, she said, I can now really just see him for who he is, and I can see his gifts, and that he's amazing, and that he's none of those things that, they were saying. Not that there's anything wrong with, having ADHD. It's sad when someone gets diagnosed, but then the parent doesn't feel that makes sense. And and so she just felt like, wow, I can really see him clearly. And I guess she felt like she could also advocate for him more by understanding that.
I think also because children find it difficult to communicate often as well, it can be really helpful to just have that extra piece of information to help them navigate throughout their younger years. A lot of it is just trial and error and guessing most of the time, and doing things as you would do when it's not even suitable for somebody else.
Definitely.
But it's not ever too late to also learn any of that either.
No, definitely not. Yeah, like I've had people come for readings in their 60s, so it really doesn't matter how old you are. It's just, I guess it's more about the intention. You want to be able to attract opportunities more easily. Maybe you want to be able to make decisions. It could be struggling with a relationship. Like, you might think someone who's older, they've just got a settled, happy relationship, but they can be going through the exact same things that young people can be going through, of like, oh, I'm not sure if this person lights me up, and then finding out they're a generator and realizing how important it is to be lit up. Just something as simple as that can be that light bulb moment for them.
When you work with someone, you read their chart, do you then need to do anything else with them once you've kind of met with them that first time?
You mean like energetically, or?
No, just like you said that this woman obviously gave you this feedback. I mean, I had one session with you. But is there a need for people to have more than one session to really go deeper?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely always recommend to have follow-up sessions, or I also offer, virtual support post-reading. So like a 2-week sort of container of having access to me over messages and voice notes as well. So I think that's really amazing, because in a reading you receive so much information, and I do send the reading recording so people can listen to it again. But then just as situations come up, like maybe they've just started a new job and they're like having this issue with their employer or a colleague or something, then they could just text me like, what do I do about this situation? How do I actually use my intuition for it? Things like that. Yeah.
Because I would imagine there would be some time where you'd need to integrate and kind of ponder on things, and then do things maybe slightly differently to what you've always done, and having that wisdom and understanding. But then, like I said, because there are various layers or different facets to how people present, it's unlikely any two people present the same,
because there are so many different components. Like we've talked about energy type, strategy, then your authorities how to make decisions from your intuition, but then there's for example, your profile, which is your personality type, and it shows it's got two different sides of your personality and kind of the dichotomy in them, and how to use both of those to go about fulfilling your purpose. Then there are really specific gifts. Then there's a really specific life purpose that everyone has, and there's, I think over 200 variations of those life purposes. So even if you're a generator like, the person next to you, you're going to be so different. Unless you have literally the exact same chart, you're going to be very different.
That's what I mean.
And you're going to have a different upbringing, different conditioning that you've experienced, and you can have the same gifts as someone but use them in a different way. Like you could be literally a creative artist, or you could be a creative lawyer. Like there's so many different ways to be creative.
Yeah. For anyone who wants to learn a little bit more, where can they find you?
My business is Love My Design. They can find me on Instagram at Love My Design with an underscore at the end. Or my website is lovemydesign.com.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing today. I'm sure that there's like so many layers. It's almost like I want to get 5 different types of people back, and you really go deep with every single type.
Do like a group reading.
Yeah, it's like group reading. But then
I actually do that. I do group readings, workshops. I do one-on-one readings, and then I also have a guidebook, which is a new offering I've created where people can read it at home themselves. Awesome. So that's also great depending on people's learning style.
Thank you for being here. This has been so interesting. And like I said, I almost want to line 5 people up now and learn and go deeper. But I'm sure people can go and access you via your Instagram, and they can go deeper themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thanks so much again.
Thank you for having me.